This episode of Stardust Crusaders is brought to you by Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, How to Haggle in Pakistan, featuring Joseph Joestar and Dan of Steel. Dan of Steel? Really? To my review of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders Episode 16, the beginning of the two-parter The Lovers. I'm assuming every multi-parter at this point is going to be 2 parts. So this episode definitely did raise up the stakes and the tension, and it was a really good episode once again, courtesy of David's production, so kudos to them. Now, Jotaro and the others arrived in Karachi, Pakistan via horse-drawn carriage. They didn't really explain into detail of how they got the carriage. I guess that's not really important, but they got one since Whole Horse stole their car. So now that they've arrived in Karachi, they're going to interrogate Enya and learn about Dio's whereabouts, his stand, and any other stand users that were after them. No, Joseph decides to stop, take a break, and buy some kebabs. Yeah, considering what happens in this episode, it's best to interrogate your enemy first, and then you get some food later. Now, this was the beginning part of the episode that I was kind of a bit iffy with, but I did find it pretty funny, and it was a pretty good scene, and it wasn't, like, dragged on for too long. I mean, if you include this scene along with the opening scene and the opening, it's around 4 minutes, 40 seconds of the actual episode itself, plus, you know, the 9-second of the disclaimer, of course. So this scene features this street vendor who was selling kebabs. Him and Joseph were haggling for the price of the kebabs, which they did reach to a conclusion, and I gotta admit, the scene was pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie, but it turns out that Joseph did get played in the end. But then right after that, Enya wakes up, and she wasn't really gonna do anything. She was tied up after all, so her stand justice wouldn't really be able to do anything. I mean, Star Platinum will just inhale his head again. Sorry. Anyway, once she woke up, she starts like freaking out. She's sweating like crazy, and he was like, why are you here? And everyone turns to the street vendor, which was kind of odd at first, but it turns out that this guy was another one of Dio's minions, another stand user. And the way he was talking, I'm assuming that he is another one of the assassins that Dio hired to kill Jotaro and the others. But once it was revealed that this guy was a stand user, tentacles start to come out of Enya's eyeballs, and her mouth, and her ears. Ew. Yeah, Enya is getting her face, in a way, torn apart from the inside by these tentacles, and they even destroy the carriage. It was revealed later on that the tentacles were from a flesh bud that Dio implanted onto Enya, which begs the question if Enya was really following Dio from her own free will, or was she brainwashed like Kakyoin and Polnareff like before? But her case was different because unlike Kakyoin and Polnareff, who had their flesh buds implanted on the outside of their heads, this one was implanted on the inside of the head, which begs the question, when did Dio implant a flesh bud inside Enya? And it was the stand user who introduces himself as Steely Dan. In the subtitles, it is Dan of Steel, so it was a copyright thing, but I'm going to call him Steely Dan, because Dan of Steel just reminds me of Man of Steel, Superman. It's kind of weird. Anyway, his stand, the Lovers, was the one that grew the flesh bud, so that the bud was killing Enya. And why Dio sent Steely Dan to kill Enya was to prevent Jotaro and the others from gathering any intel from her. I mean, yeah, she was incredibly loyal to Dio. She was willing to follow him, although it does question whether she was brainwashed or not, but they didn't really go into detail on that. But despite that, Dio does not trust anyone. It's not that surprising considering he does come off as the guy that will throw his own minions under the bus just to save his own hide, or for his own sake in a way. But what did surprise me is that he was really going as far as to kill Enya, since she was the one that told Dio about stands and about his stand. But if you think about it, it is kind of understandable on, you know, from the antagonist side. And also, Dio was aware of Jotaro and Joseph's stands, especially Hermit Purple, since Hermit Purple can just look inside Enya's mind and they will still gather the intel either way, even if she wasn't going to tell them. And you know, despite all of that, Enya was still loyal to Dio. She wasn't going to tell Joseph anything. Who was like asking her to tell him about Dio's stand. Especially when he was saying, now you know that Dio's not the kind of person you think he is. So yeah, Enya is dead, which on the one hand, it kind of sucks because I wanted to know more about Enya. She was one of the recurring characters from Dio's side, but yeah, she's dead. I don't know whether I should feel bad for her or I should be grateful that she is dead. So, but after that, Jotaro and the others are going to take on Steely Dan, which is great because this is, I believe, the first time we're going to see a team battle between the group. I mean, most of the time it was just individual battles. Now it's going to be a team battle, 4-on-1. However, Steely Dan was just sitting, sipping on some tea, just chilling. Even though Jotaro was like telling him, get up, we're gonna beat the living crap out of you in a way. Steely Dan is like, do as you will. He just doesn't care. And so then Star Platinum then just punches him, and sending him flying onto the nearest store window. But it also sent Joseph flying, which was kind of weird, but this actually is a hint of what the lovers can do. It has been revealed that the lovers apparently is a very tiny microscopic stand that can go into any other people's bodies inside their brains. The lovers and Dan were connected. If they hurt Dan, then the person with the stand inside their head will also get hurt as well. However, the lovers can amplify the pain of the body that it is inside it. So if Steely Dan actually does get hurt, the pain will be inflicted on the other several times stronger. Joseph is now reduced to a hostage in this one because they can't do anything on Steely Dan, because if they do try to hurt him or they do try to kill him, Joseph will just feel the pain several times stronger and he'll get hurt too, or worse. And actually no, it does get worse in a way, because the lovers has taken one of Dio's flesh buds inside Joseph's head, and within 10 minutes the bud will grow and kill him from the inside, just like Enya. And you know the weird thing is, Steely Dan said that the lovers was the world's weakest stand. Yet, it comes off as an interesting, yet very dangerous stand. So, it begs the question, like, what really is the weakest stand if you think about it? I always thought the weakest stand was the Emperor. Steely Dan also demonstrated this ability from the lovers by paying this kid to hit him on his leg with a broom. And he even demonstrated more when he was like cracking his knuckles that Joseph can also feel pain on his artificial hand as well. Now, even though I did find the stand of the lovers interesting, the stand user himself is an asshole. He is a fucking prick. Now, don't get me wrong, most of these stand users that we've seen so far on Dio's side, they come off as assholes, but at least with Whole Horse, he came off as a likable asshole. But he comes off as someone that I don't like so much that not since Jay Gao do I want someone to beat the living shit out of him, which I hope will happen in next week's episode. Yeah, he kind of comes off as this prick. He's trying to egg on Jotaro to like punch him, to hurt him. He was going to like twice, but he had to be stopped by Kakyoin. I mean, he had to stop him because otherwise he was gonna kill Joseph. And yeah, Jotaro does come off as helpless in this one because he cannot hurt his grandfather. So what does Steely Dan do? He picks up a rock and hits him in the stomach with the rock and then try to bash his head with it. Yeah, in this episode, Jotaro has been made into Steely Dan's bitch in a way if you think about it. But luckily, Joseph does come up with a plan, and apparently Kakyoin also understands Joseph as Joseph and Polnareff run away to keep Joseph away from Steely Dan as far as possible. But it's been revealed that the lovers can still be controlled even if Steely Dan is far away from his own stand. So it has an incredibly long distance range, probably even longer than Hierophant Green itself. But no, that's not really their plan. Their plan was to get to the nearest electronics store, which had a display of TVs, as Joseph uses Hermit Purple to show an image of the lovers inside his head. And the plan was to send in Hierophant Green and Silver Chariot inside Joseph's head and destroy the stands. Okay, I know that it has been established that stands are a manifestation of one's energy, but I was not aware that one can even shrink their stands. But apparently that can happen. I didn't know if this was elaborated in any of the earlier episodes, but it kind of like came out of nowhere for me. But it got me thinking that it is kind of understandable since their stands were manifestations of their energy, so they can control it to shrink their stands. I don't know if this means that they can actually grow their stands too, but I think that might take up a lot of energy. I mean, it takes up a lot of energy for these guys to shrink their stands. And at first I thought they were going to use Hierophant Green to like go into Joseph's body like he did in episode 2 with that nurse, but then again I think it would be like too big to get a stand that is like the size of a cell, like a microbial parasite, so, which is what the Lovers looks like. So I guess Hierophant Green can't do that. Alright. While that was going on, Jotaro has to stay behind and keep Steely Dan busy, and we get to see even more of Steely Dan being a fucking asshole as he takes not only his wallet but his watch from Jotaro, and he even goes as far as to turn him into a bridge so that he could get across this ditch because he's too fucking lazy to like go to the fucking bridge. Who am I kidding? He's just doing this just to like piss off Jotaro, like toy with him, at least until Joseph does get killed by the flesh bud in 10 minutes, but that's not gonna happen. And I will admit, I hated the fact that Jotaro was being treated like this, but on the other hand, I'm actually looking forward to next week's episode because once the Lovers is defeated, we're gonna probably get a beatdown of a lifetime. It's gonna be fucking awesome. So yeah, that's basically it from the episode. But overall, this was a really good episode. It did raise up the tension. It built up the suspense, especially now that they're running against time, 10 minutes before the flesh bud kills Joseph, which I highly doubt that's gonna happen. In the preview, it's been shown that they're going to encounter the Lovers, but I believe the Lovers might have a couple more tricks up its sleeve, so it's not gonna be that very easy to kill. All the while, Steely Dan is gonna probably make Jotaro do some things that he doesn't want him to do. But the more he does, the more angry Jotaro's gonna get pissed, and the more pain he's gonna feel when he gets beaten up so badly by Star Platinum. If there's one thing I learned about this anime, do not piss off Jotaro Kujo. So in this episode, the animation was pretty good, especially with the beginning with the haggling scene. I did like the animation style and the art style in that one. Voice acting was really good. The OST was also very well done. It was really good, especially during the scene when Joseph was asking Enya to like tell him about Dio's stand. I thought it really did a good job raising the tension. So far, the anime has been pretty good on the pacing so far, so hopefully David's production will keep this up as the series progresses. I'm actually looking more forward to this battle because this is a team battle, 4-on-1. I like to think of it as a team. Joseph unfortunately was reduced to a hostage. At least he is a navigator using Hermit Purple, and Polnareff and Kakyoin are going to be the ones to defeat the Lovers, but it seems that Kakyoin is taking the lead in this one, so I gotta give kudos to Kakyoin on that one. Also for him to like keeping Jotaro in check before he like tried to kill his grandfather, and of course being the calm and collected one as always. But I will also give kudos to Joseph for coming up with the plan along with Kakyoin in that one too. Polnareff, I guess he's just a tag-along guy, but we're probably going to see him do some pretty cool stuff in next week's episode with Silver Chariot. And there were some parts that I was a bit confused and iffy about. I thought there were kind of like inconsistencies, but I'm not really that sure myself, but it was still a pretty good episode overall. So if you want to check out the episode yourself, it is out on Crunchyroll. I'll leave a link in the description down below. And tell me guys, what are your thoughts on this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What are your thoughts on the Lovers and Steely Dan? I know there are probably some people that like him, but me personally, I think he's an asshole who deserves to get a beatdown of a lifetime. Like the video if you like it, and subscribe for more videos, and be sure to check out my Facebook fan page and Google+, and my new account on Dailymotion where you can see the reaction videos themselves. I'll leave a link to the reaction video down below. So yeah, that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders episode 16. I'm going to respond 27, and I will see you guys later. Bye.